In today's Leeds news, financial kickback for Leeds, why Cairns' return makes sense, youth players with the first team, Bamford absence from training, Leeds reject permanent offer for loan player, and Newcastle eye Summerville. Hi folks, Jer here on Tuesday, the 9th of July with your Leeds United news. Hope everyone's having a good week so far. There's not a huge amount of juicy stories to get stuck into today, but there is some stuff worth talking about. And we'll start off with a potential financial kickback for Leeds United on a player who left the club last year. After Charlie Cresswell sealed his deal to Toulouse yesterday, another recognisable name from Leeds United's past has been linked with a move to Toulouse. According to reports in France, Toulouse have agreed a fee to sign former Leeds United under-21 and MK Dons striker Max Dean. Dean left Leeds in January 2023 and has had a reasonably good time of things at the MK Dons, scoring 16 goals in 31 games for the club, but an exit has been likely all summer, with interest in the player growing throughout the back end of last season and into the summer. According to the Yorkshire Evening Post, Leeds will receive 50% sell-on for any fee in the future should the MK Dons sell the player. An estimated £850,000 could come Leeds' way if the £1.7 million move for Max Dean from MK Dons to Toulouse takes place. It's not a huge amount of money, but an extra £850,000 in the kitty will add up. Might pay someone's wages for the year or might help Leeds add to another player coming in. Dean is likely also then to link up with former Leeds United under-21 teammate Charlie Cresswell at the French side, and I wish the two of them all the success when they get there. Max Dean, probably one to keep an eye on for me. He's starting to show the promise that we thought he had when he came into the youth setup from Everton in the first place, so one to keep an eye on there. Another player that did come into Leeds United yesterday to very mixed responses was Alex Cairns, and the return of the Leeds lad back to his hometown club was met with a little bit of confusion from some of the fan base. But there's an interesting piece in the Yorkshire Evening Post today from Joe Donoghue, who basically is talking about Alex Cairns being a sensible choice from a pragmatic standpoint. I get the reaction online to this, and Cairns' return isn't one that you would see as an exciting signing, or definitely not a signing that Leeds United fans thought that they would be bringing in this week. But if you look at it from this perspective, Scott Carson, Tom Heaton at Manchester United and Mark Gillespie at Newcastle United are all players who return to clubs to add cover in the third choice goalkeeping position, experienced players that are not likely to play much football at those clubs. But they do add experience to those clubs, they cover a slot, and they don't take up a huge amount of resources from the club. Swapping Chris Klassen for Alex Cairns does make sense from a couple of perspectives. One, it lowers the wage bill. Two, it gives you cover in that position. And three, he covers a position of a homegrown player, which is very important to Leeds. And from a regulatory perspective, given the fact that Archie Gray and Charlie Cresswell have both left and Leeds have lost two homegrown players, adding a new homegrown player to that mix helps in that situation. Cairns is very much coming in as third choice keeper to replace a third choice keeper, and is a Leeds lad, and also adds a strong, experienced voice to the dressing room, and a player who knows what it is to be Leeds United, and someone who could add a huge amount of value to the younger players in the squad. But we'll see how that one pans out. I'm delighted to see Alex Cairns come back to the club in that role. It's nice to see a Leeds lad come back home. So for him, I hope it goes well for him. He's not expected to play a huge amount of football. I wouldn't lose much sleep over this one. As I said, pragmatic signing that makes sense in the context of a third choice goalkeeper. So there's that one there. Some other youth players that popped up over the course of the training videos over the last few days for Leeds United, and it's probably a numbers situation to have them involved in the first place, but Charlie Crew was pictured as part of the Leeds United training camp in the first day of the season doing testing, but since then two more players have been pictured. Centre-back James Debayo, who's 18 years of age, and 17-year-old midfielder Sam Chambers have both been pictured as part of the first team squad in recent days. From that, we can probably ascertain that Leeds are light in a couple of areas outside the obvious full-back areas that we are in centre-back areas right now. But James Debayo being a centre-back and covering in a pre-season means Leeds are probably going to have to look at bringing in an additional centre-back. And Sam Chambers in midfield means Leeds are probably likely to look at another central midfield player coming in as well, off the back of Archie Gray leaving alone and Liam Cooper likely to leave Leeds in the next couple of days. So interesting to see them there. It's great experience for the young players. It's great to have them in there. Whether they'll be involved this season, I highly doubt that. I think Charlie Crew will be in and amongst the squad, but I don't expect him to be a starter or have an impact that Archie Gray had, at least not this season, maybe next. But a very interesting breakout season for Charlie Crew ahead for him. And nice to see Debayo and Chambers both involved in that. Two players that did very well for the 18s and under-21s when they have played for them. A player that has been absent from the training videos is one to keep an eye on, and that is Patrick Bamford. In the recent training videos that the club have released, Patrick Bamford's absence has been notable in those videos, but now Graham Smith at the Yorkshire Evening Post has given some detail on that. What Graham Smith has said is Leeds are likely increasing Patrick Bamford's workload over the course of pre-season rather than throwing him straight into the mix off the back of the injury that he suffered at the end of last season. Bamford's injury history is one that Leeds fans will be more than a little bit aware of and mindful of coming into the start of the season, and the saying the best ability is availability is one that definitely applies to Pat Bamford's situation. Bamford has missed the end of the past 3 seasons for Leeds United and wasn't available for the start of last season or the year before for Leeds either, and if he misses this season start due to injury, that will be 3 years in a row where Leeds haven't had access to their number 9 at the start of the campaign. Bamford has 2 years remaining on his deal and is one of the highest earners in the Leeds United squad, and there has been some rumoured interest in the player from abroad, but nothing official has come true just yet. There is no sign of a contract extension for Bamford, which would be believed would have to be on reduced terms should it come, and there's no outward movement of the player away from the club right now. But if his fitness fails this summer, Leeds will be left in a situation where they'll have Joel Perreault and Matteo Joseph, who is a exciting prospect at number 9, but very much unproven in this area right now, as the only 2 players that are available for the number 9 spot. And Leeds may need to then look at bringing in a potential another option in that position. But it's going to be one to keep an eye on. It's not great that Bamford's still not fully fit after that injury that was only supposed to keep him out for a week or 2 at the end of last season. It's carried on again. This injury history has been rumbling on. We've seen it happen breakdown after breakdown. When he was in the Leeds team at the back end of last season, he was highly effective for Leeds, but then he was missing again towards the tail end when Leeds really needed him in that position. But we'll have to see. There's no point in having a player at the squad who's just not available for the team. He may be fine. He could get through the rest of pre-season perfectly well. They could be doing the right thing with this as well. We'll have to wait and see. But right now, Patrick Bamford is still recovering from an injury that he picked up at the end of last season. A player that has left Leeds United on loan but won't be going permanently anytime soon is Darko Gyabi. Plymouth director Neil Dewslip told the Plymouth Live that the loan policy from Plymouth in recent years has been a huge part of the club's success, and Darko Gyabi was one of those players that was involved in that, albeit in a very small sample size last season. Unlike recent loans like Lewis Bate, who moved away from Leeds in his last year of his contract, and Sam Greenwood this year, who has an option to buy in his deal, Leeds don't appear to be ready to sell Darko Gyabi on a permanent deal, at least just yet. Dewslip said that Plymouth had sounded out the possibility of signing Darko Gyabi on a permanent deal, but the information they got back from Leeds was the player wasn't available on a permanent deal, but that a loan move could benefit both parties. Dewslip also pointed out that there is a recall clause in the loan deal, but that he doesn't expect Leeds to exercise that deal during the course of the season unless they absolutely have to. This is a hugely important season for Darko Gyabi. Leeds clearly see some future in the player, at least right now, and a strong season at Plymouth could put him in a very good position to come back to Leeds United and push through and maybe earn a new contract at Leeds. And if that doesn't work, at least put himself in the window for other championship clubs to maybe buy the player next year. But it is a very important year for Darko Gyabi. We'll keep an eye on him. We'll monitor him in loan watch throughout the season. You can keep an eye on that one as the season goes on. And then finally today, getting into the main story of the day that's broken. This one comes from TalkSport, so take this with a pinch of salt. According to Alex Crook at TalkSport, Newcastle United may be about to enter the race to sign Leeds United attacker Crescencio Summerville. After missing out on Michael Olise, who joined Bayern Munich, Newcastle are now said to be turning their attention to 2 players, Jadon Sancho at Manchester United and Crescencio Summerville at Leeds United. If Newcastle can sell Miguel Almiron to the Saudi interested clubs for rumoured to be 25 million, that money would be added to a kitty that would likely bring in a player that would fill the gap that they were hoping to fill with Michael Olise. Jadon Sancho has reported back for pre-season training at Manchester United, but is expected to leave the club after a fallout with Erik ten Hag. But a fee of 70 to 80 million pounds is likely to be the number that they would need to bid to get him from Manchester United. Crescencio Summerville offers a slightly cheaper alternative for Newcastle. A bid around 40 to 45 million pound outside of competition is expected to be enough to get the deal done for the Dutch attacker, and would put him in a position to where he would be at a club that would be competing at the top end of the table, something Summerville is said to be interested in himself. Summerville's not expected to move anytime soon. It could go till very late in the window before he does move. He is expected to leave in this window, but it might not be right now. The longer the window goes on and the more big clubs miss out on targets, the more interesting Crescencio Summerville will become for these clubs. It's one that we will definitely be keeping an eye on over the course of the summer. We've talked about him a lot already, and we'll continue to talk about him until he either moves on or the season starts and window closes and we hold on to the player. But the longer he's here, the better it is. He seems quite happy. He is said to not be in a rush to leave Leeds. He's said to not be pushing for a move away. We'll see what happens if an interested club comes in. Brighton are still in the mix. The player himself is said to not be overly interested in Brighton right now and is waiting his time. So there's no huge issues with this. As I said, we all expect Cree to move at some point. Whether it's now or at the end of the window, we'll have to wait and see. Whether Leeds can hang on to him again would be nice to think, but I think it'll be tough. I think we can all accept that it'll be tough for him to hang on to him. But we'll have to wait and see. Newcastle are now interested in him. They did have a little sniff last year. Whether they come back in now with an actual offer for the player, we'll have to wait and see. But we'll know more in the coming days and weeks, and we'll see if Alex Crook at TalkSport is correct on this one. Folks, that's going to be it for me today. Massive thanks as always. Appreciate the support. I'll be back tomorrow morning for more Leeds news. If anything happens between now and tonight, I'll pop back on with a live stream. But if not, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon.